Welcome, Spartans, to Mission Debrief. We're playing every mission in the mainline Halo video game series in chronological order, discussing our experiences and sprinkling in little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read on the show, email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be playing the Uplift Reserve mission from Halo 3 ODST on the next mission. This episode, we're debriefing the Tayari Plaza mission from Halo 3 ODST. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krista Brown.
This isn't Firefly.
Last mission was, we did the opening cinematic, and Mombasa streets. So Alpha 9's plans of boarding the Prophet of Regret's ship above Earth's surface goes sideways. ONI operative Veronica Dare hijacks their mission and sets the ODST squad off course right before they're hit by a massive EMP blast that caused by Regret's in-atmosphere slip space jump. The team is scattered. 6 hours later, the rookie wakes up inside his pod, drops down to the darkened streets of New Mombasa, and sets out to track down his squadmates. After eluding a few detachments of brutes and grunts, we discovered Dare's helmet lodged in a monitor inside the second floor of a skyscraper. It might be the third floor. Anyway, current mission. So this mission, we're now slipping on the helmet of Edward Buck. Immediately after Alpha 9's crash lands into New Mombasa, we head out to locate and save our former girlfriend? The path is fraught with Covenant brutes, jackals, and grunts that are determined to kill every human they meet. With the help of a few Marines scattered throughout the city, Buck discovers Dare's empty pod, his squadmate Romeo, and a new alien within the Covenant ranks. Date of the game is October 20th, 2552 at 16:06 hours, which is immediately after drop, and that tells you that right away. That opening cutscene, they're interesting now because they have that security cam view, right, David?
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. It shows you like the pods dropping and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Do you want to take us through the opening mission, or the opening cutscene?
The opening cutscene of Tayari Plaza. Yeah, it shows Buck crash landing into a build. Well, they're all going to be crash landings. Just drop pods. That's what they do. They crash land. And Buck kind of like is stuck in his pod for a little bit, and he's still in contact with Veronica. He gets out of his crash pod or his drop pod, picks up his AR, tumbles out of it, I suppose, ungraciously, and then pretty much Veronica is saying that she can't get out of her pod. The door is jammed. So Buck is essentially, okay, I'm coming to get you, and you kind of pick off straight away. It's a very different kind of feeling to the first mission because it's daytime, it's bright. If you try and use your visor, it's almost unusable.
It's blinding.
It's blinding, so you won't be using your visor for this mission. And you're equipped with a AR and a pistol, which is quite cool. And straight away, you have a whole bunch of a dropship comes in, a Phantom, and drops off a bunch of grunts, and some brutes are waiting for you down the street. And if you sit and wait, the grunts actually come up at you.
Oh, they do.
So if you're, they do. They come up to get. They know where you are straight away.
That's good. Do we want to touch on Dare and Buck's relationship at all here? Do you guys think? I mean, it's like
we should mention. Well, it's super obvious by like the way they talk to each other. They had a relationship. It's detailed in the New Blood book. What exactly happens between them? So go read that. It's a prequel to this book a little bit and a sequel to this at the same time. So the book kind of jumps dates and times, but it tells the backstory of Buck and Dare. They essentially used to date, and when they did, Buck didn't know that she was ONI, and then when she revealed that she was, it kind of broke the relationship a little bit. Also, it's a lot about the fact that they're both military officers and have a military career. They're all over the galaxy. They're all over the place. They're not the settling down type. So they pretty much kind of split, and it wasn't really a good split, as you can tell.
But this is new. But also, like at this, like sexual tension or just kind of relationship banter is completely new, also to Halo. We haven't touched on this kind of human.
We're now seeing the difference between like a Spartan as a lead and when you have a human being as a lead. I mean, Spartans are engineered in such a way as to not really have a sexual drive, and other than like rare situations. But for the first 3 Halo games, we've not had any kind of romance. Do you know what I mean? Happening. Just maybe the odd flirtatious comment with Cortana, and maybe
Sergeant Johnson.
Sergeant Johnson. Yeah, that's it. So like, that's kind of it.
I know what the ladies like.
Exactly. And here we have the humans, adult humans, commenting on previous adult relationships, which is totally new for Halo. So it's pretty cool. It's very interesting. Obviously, it adds an extra depth to what's happening in this game, and you can see Buck / Captain Reynolds, how he reacts, and how he goes about this mission. That like, he doesn't really know what his original mission was supposed to be, so Dare never really briefs him. So essentially, all he knows he has to do now is go and get there. Yep. So that's pretty much what he's doing. But yeah, it's definitely, there's, like you said, there is that tension there between them, and that exists throughout the game.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good recap. The other thing I noticed, did you guys notice the part time on this is 3 minutes?
Yeah, you can literally run through this.
Oh
you don't have to kill anything.
That's all you must do in this game is run. Yeah. It's got to be set on easy to get that part-time, because that's crazy.
Yeah, that's hard to do. But you can just cruise through this mission if you want to. But yeah, thanks for the setup there. So now daytime, we're starting to, it's just back to the good old Halo for me, right? I mean, obviously your ODSTs are a little bit different, but the weapons feel good here. That's where I kind of started to notice in the opening mission. It's like, okay, this is still foreign to me. I can pick up other weapons, but it didn't feel like my like a classic Halo game, like this mission starts you off as killing grunts, killing brutes, chucking grenades. It's daytime. All that plays into it. So yeah, this mission feels good, and it's not too difficult. As you progress, you do kind of reach a couple different bottlenecks where it ramps up the difficulty. Again, I'm playing on heroic this time, so it's a little bit harder than what I'm used to. Nothing's insurmountable in heroic, but it just does feel like it is definitely more of a challenge here. So David, are you using UNSC weapons pretty much the entire time, as much as possible?
And this one I actually found a good spread, because there's a lot of weapons I forgot about. Like, you can get the Mauler in this game, which is a new weapon to this game, I think. I'm not sure if it was in Halo 3.
It's in Halo 3.
Mixed up here. It wasn't Halo 3, okay. It's essentially a brute shotgun / handgun. So that's kind of right. Yeah, it is in Halo 3, because you can dual wield it. So in this game, there's no dual wielding, so I picked it up and used it. It's pretty ineffectual. I don't really like it when
it really only works when you have two of them.
Yeah, in a big way. So I used it and kind of got rid of it pretty fast after that. I did a little bit of a needler, but throughout this game, like, the headshots are kind of very important. I suppose they are in all games, but like in this game where you can't really melee a lot very well because you are in a weaker state, I use a lot of Covenant carbines in this game, and I did use the AR while I had it. I think you can get a shotgun in this mission. There's one or two turrets that you can use. I love breaking off turrets. I always do it. So that's a big part of my gameplay.
Could we break off turrets in Halo 2? I'm forgetting.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not a brand new mechanic. Krista, what are you using here?
So I kept my pistol, and then I switched to...
Do you really always have a pistol, like, the entire game?
Well, I'm a headshot person.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a headshot person. Yeah. I can get rid of the grunts really fast, and then I usually have a... I had my AR for a while just to get the brutes' shields down, or I'll noob tube it and just use the plasma pistol. But on this particular thing, I had the silence pistol, I had the AR, and then I switched the AR for the shotgun later in the mission.
Gotcha. I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but the streets are busy. They're littered with stuff, debris, trucks, bodies, you name it. There's stuff, to hide behind or to explore, to kind of get lost around. They did a really good job in these missions, the whole game, of making you feel like you are in the middle of the city. I think I also mentioned, like, in the Halo 2 missions where you're in Mombasa, it feels a little more empty, and some of that maybe is technology at the time and all that other stuff. But it really feels like you are in the middle of this city, and then something horrible, has gone wrong or is going wrong while you're tracking through here. You meet a couple Marines right away, which is kind of fun, and they usually have some fun dialogue here. And you can kind of go through buildings, and the buildings are dark, so you usually have to pop up your visor to go through those buildings. This first Marine, I think it might be the second Marine, but kind of that big wide open area where you eventually get to. I think I always went to the right because it felt like the right way to go. The Marine pops on and says, "Hey, you can go through that building over there and you can flank them," and I usually go the wrong way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys did the same thing.
Very.
No, I went up the stairs.
Yeah, interesting comment to note at this point. This was the first time in a Halo game campaign where your character speaks out of a cutscene, like actually in game. This is the first moment when Edward Buck talks to these Marines, which I thought was an interesting.
It felt
moment.
so natural. I guess I didn't notice.
Yeah. So this is all the games except for Reach essentially didn't have this,
Okay.
and this was the first moment. Exactly. It's kind of weird. I noticed it straight away, and I was like, oh my god, I'm talking in mid game. It's strange for a Halo game. Yeah, that's a new thing.
The other thing you will notice, I mentioned kind of all the bodies that are around. There's a lot of dead aliens, both brutes and Sangheili. You actually don't fight any Sangheili in this game. They're all dead.
I know. Which is kind of important. I mean, at this time, you know what's going on as a Halo player, but obviously the characters in game don't. Veronica Dare does. There's a kind of an interesting conversation later on, where like Buck, after, like you said, you go through that. I always go into that building, and because that's where the Mauler is, and there's a couple other weapons. There's a brute plasma rifle in there as well, and stuff like that. I think you can get a shotgun in there. But there's a lot of weapons. There's 3 floors to that building. So like there's loads of grenades and all that kind of stuff up there. So it's good to rearm and then attack the brutes from a higher position. I like to do that.
Yeah, they it's just I kind of got lost myself there, but did I skip the part with the turret? I think I might have skipped the turret.
That's just coming up.
Okay, yeah. So you're kind of
once you follow that alleyway along.
That's right. Yeah, you clear that area and then you you go up to the top there. You kind of can hop down, and then you kind of go around the corner there, and that's where there's a turret. And that part's a little bit more difficult because there is a lot of grunts and brutes right in there, especially if you're going too fast. You can kind of get taken out pretty early, and that's where it is fun to kind of yank that turret off and start hauling that bad boy around. Where else now? Now we go up this hill. Okay, then we go up this hill, and that's where we see all the dead elites, right?
Yeah,
yes.
that's it, and that's where they're trying to.
Makes a comment on it.
So
just what's with all these dead elites?
Right. The interesting thing though is that we've talked about the schism in Halo 2, and that schism doesn't happen until weeks later, and truth isn't.
Yeah,
nearby.
I didn't realize that until I was actually researching this. That how those dates line up. That this is 2 weeks before the schism. And it is all the brutes come in off the Earth and they kill all the elites.
But that was
as part of Truth's plan.
Part of Truth's plan, right? Exactly. So
yeah.
But it's a lot earlier. But there too. I mean, there's no way that either sets of Sangheili would know it because they're so far away, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Truth had, and that might be outlined in some media where Truth does give them the go ahead, I guess, for the brutes to just kill all the Sangheili. But it's interesting to note that hey, we're not. Where are those warts? There's no warts here. They're all dead. So now this area is where you kind of continue to go down, and that's where there's that tower. What are those towers called? I always forget what they're called.
The stationary turret, the grav towers.
Yeah, is that what it's called? Grav tower.
I think so.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of work your way through to that. There's like a door, and then right in front of it is a ton of grunts and jackals. There's a lot. There's a whole lot
there is.
There.
You got some shield and sniper jackals, and as well as carbine jackals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's it's not terribly difficult, especially if you take your time. But it's just it's a fun area, just a little shooting practice. I'm sure for Krista, she probably headshots a lot at this spot.
Yep. Yeah, I always go up in the tower and either lob grenades or just headshot a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're clearing this area out. Then we're opening this door right behind there. And then now this is kind of like, to a degree, this is kind of the ending area, right? And like this is where I got ahead of myself. This is where that Marine kind of says go to where you can flank, right? But you can actually go off to the left. It wants you to go off to the left, and then...
No, as soon as you meet the Marine, he tells you can go to the left into the building.
Yeah.
That's like immediately. Yeah. You're way past that point. You're now at the door where all the jackals are, and you're about to open this door into another area.
This is the area with all the snipers, though, the jackal snipers here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot if there was a Marine there or not, but must not be.
Also, something I noticed in this previous area is if you look around, there's like little like glowy things that are coming down from the sky.
Oh yeah, excellent
And
point.
if you look up, the sky is like really weird. It's probably just excess radiation from the slip space jump, but it looks crazy. It's really cool.
Well,
So-
Krista Brown, I think you mentioned that. So the first piece of trivia I have is that throughout the entire level, the sky is filled with blue fog and ionized particles, which is a residue from the solemn penances in atmosphere slip space jump.
So yeah, you kind of see the after effects of just because slip space jumps produce about it. Isn't it close to the amount of radiation that's put off like during a nuclear bomb? Even more than that.
I would say yes,
it's
but
something.
I can't remember.
It's something comparable to that. Just the amount of radiation that is spewed into the atmosphere when the ship.
I mean, if it was
Jumped.
equal to a nuclear bomb, then we wouldn't be here. So I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, there was a huge
Yeah,
explosion.
yeah, there definitely was. But
I think it's a different kind of
Sure.
radiation. I don't think it's the same kind of radiation that gives off from a
it's
nuclear
like
bomb. I don't
sugar-free
think it's as-
radiation.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, we're also talking about radiation that we don't actually have any access to at this
Yeah.
point in our technology, but it is a bunch of radiation. Always look up in video games. People put stuff up high and in the sky in video games all the time. Always look up when you get a chance. So if you have never noticed it, look up. It looks super trippy
Yeah.
and weird. It's like you're on a different planet. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, just more Skybot goodness. We've talked about in the past from Bungie. They do a great job. Just atmosphere in general. Before we go a little further, just talking about Marines, the Marines have good dialogue. At one point, when I did get a Marine to join up with me for a little bit, I think there was 2 Marines that joined me. One of them had ended up dying, and the other one, like right when he walked past his body, he said, "I'll see you later, buddy."
That's amazing. I would have been your daddy on, but I haven't gotten anything super crazy. The grunts are talking a lot, but nothing from the Marines so far.
Yep. All right. So now we're kind of in this big open area with all the Jackal snipers, and this is a tough area, especially on the higher levels. I got sniped a couple times on heroic, and I had to really take my time. I'm sure legendary is no joke, but you got to take those Jackals out kind of first if you want to have an easier time, because there's probably 4 or 5 of them just kind of on that ring.
I remember, you're 100% right. You meet a Marine that's pinned down, and there's a couple of Marines down on the street, and she tells you to go through the building and flank them. You're right. That does happen.
Yeah,
here,
I just I got mixed up and got ahead of myself earlier, but that's the point where I usually go right instead of going left, and the building is right next to her.
Oh, I
almost always
building.
go left. Yeah, I always go through the building.
I don't know. I'm kind of an explorer when I play games in general, so it's like, there's a path over here. Maybe she means this way. Anyway. So lots of jackals, and then the lower level is filled with brutes and grunts. I feel like I was chucking grenades quite a bit, and in here I was running out of ammo and trying to reload, and there you do get to a point kind of through those buildings. You can go down below right away, or you can kind of stay up high, and there is a jackal that drops his what's it called, beam rifle. He drops his beam rifle, and then you can kind of snag that and start sniping up above. At least that's what I did. How did you approach it usually, Krista?
I usually use the pistol and get rid of all the jackal snipers,
With the
and
pistol?
then I start.
I guess you can scope it. Yeah.
Yeah, you scope it and just shoot them in the head. It works very similarly to the pistol in CE, and it's just not as powerful. So you can you can kill people across the map if you want to.
Yeah.
But I always go through the building. I think there's a shotgun in the building, so I always pick up a shotgun. I snipe the jackal snipers, and then I usually start taking out the grunts, and then start taking out the brutes with the shotgun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I always go to because the building you go through puts you at kind of like a weird like alcove where like half of it's covered, but it's still outside, and there are a bunch of pillars with the catwalk above you. And I always snake through those pillars and go to the building on the direct opposite side of this area.
Oh, okay.
And then I usually can you can usually lure the brutes.
Yep.
Because they're above you, so you can usually lure the brutes into the building, and then I just kill them with a shotgun.
In the dark there, is what you're saying?
Yeah, in the dark.
So Dare does pop on the comms at some point right around here, and I think she says the Covenant found her.
Yes, she's pinned,
Yep,
pinned down. They
pinned
found her.
so
They're coming towards her.
she'll pop on and off. David, do you do anything different in terms of this big wide open area?
Almost very similar to Krista. There is a Covenant carbine right beside that marine, so I generally picked that up and sniped the jackals. This time when I went through the building and picked up the shotgun, I turned around and the hunter was there. So like they had come all the way in and chased
Already?
me in. So
Wow.
yeah, already.
That was quick.
They
Because
came
you usually have to get across the map to the opposite building for
To the
them
door.
to spawn.
Yeah. I don't know. They must. I think I sniped a lot of guys. I think I may have killed too many, and then that must have triggered them to come in.
Oh, sure.
I'm not sure, but like by the time I picked up the shotgun and turned around, he was almost in the building with me. They followed me into that area because they thought the dark underground kind of area that's still outside, through the pillars. So I fought one hunter there, and I thought it was interesting that book tells you how to kill them out loud as a kind of tutorial. He's like, turn around, you sons of bitches, so I can shoot you in the back.
I love that. I
which was kinda
really,
cool.
really love that.
Which is a great way to like tell like a new player like how to kill this hunter. Do you know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. Also, the brutes here actually used equipment against me. One of them dropped the bubble shield and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot that they did that. So that was kind of fascinating. There's also kind of brute shots at one or two guys around here. But it was fun. There's also a turret. Do you know what I mean? I love this open area. It's really cool.
Yeah.
There's plenty of weapons to play around with and stuff.
There's a lot of ways you can actually tackle it too. I tend to just do the same thing I always do in ODST and just go the building route. But like you said, Colin, you can go around and you could actually just go get that turret and just kill everything in the area with the turret
way
if you
way
want
by
to.
the doors.
Because right next to the turret, there's a right below it. There's a like a dumpster. You can actually jump on the dumpster and jump up to it. You don't have to go all the way around to where the door is.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would be hard. That would be the hard part if you wanted to get through this mission in 3 minutes. Is that turret right there? Just navigating that. But that's why you put it on easy to get the part.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Oh, the other thing that I noticed is one of the brutes had fired some glowy orb thing at me. Did you guys see that at all? I don't know what.
Was
weapon-
it
With the flare, solar flare, was it?
Yeah, it was a.
Is it just?
It blinded you,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that was one of the flares.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that's one of the only ones they can use in this game. Because most of the others in Halo 3 are like take your shields down and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay. I completely forgot that was a thing. So I was like, what is that? So you can't pick those up. You can't get those flares. It's just a brute thing.
No, you can't pick up any of the equipment
That's right.
in this game. You can in Halo
That's
3.
right. So that's why it's so foreign to me, is because I completely forgot that was a thing. But yeah, that took me off guard. Yeah, I think I usually end up fighting the hunters just kind of in the middle. I clear out a bunch of the brutes, and obviously they need to clear out the jackals, otherwise they'll get you. And then just kind of wait for the hunters to kind of lumber down. At least that's what I did this time, and just kind of did the little circle dance with them.
Yeah,
in
I like the
middle.
circle dance.
And then proceeded. I had to take out that turret, of course, otherwise, I'd been toast. But yeah, and then we kind of get up to the next area, and that's kind of the brunt of the attack. In the next area, there's just a couple grunts that you got to clear out. You kind of enter this big, wide open area, but you turn to the right and you see the drop pod, and just kind of charge for that. You don't really need to do anything else.
Also, Dare was making a huge stink, like, oh my god, they're coming for me, what am I gonna do? And there's just like 3 grunts.
Well,
it's like, come on.
I mean, the door's open and the hunters come through, so maybe the hunters were in that room, maybe.
Maybe.
But, yeah, I guess it's not a room, it's that area, but, yeah, so.
Also, we're about to spoil it. She's not there, so presumably she got out and got away, and maybe most of the enemies followed her or whatever.
That's true.
I mean, and all we have is a few that are left behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Krista, do you want to do the end cutscene?
Sure. So, Buck runs up to the drop pod, rips off the door, and immediately notices this pod is empty.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking around. He's like, "What the hell happened?" And there's this weird-looking. It's almost like it looks kind of like a seashell, like a triangle seashell, kind of lying next to the drop pod, and that kind of opens, and a big squid monster comes out. You can clearly see that Dare's helmet is stuck to this squid monster. And it like starts scanning or something, and Buck's like, "What?" He's stumbling back, and then the squid monster explodes.
Well, the squid monster gets shot.
He explodes
in the head.
he gets shot. Yeah. And he dies. And then it's Romeo.
Yeah, that's Romeo.
Yeah. Okay. Romeo's like, hey, and then, well, before he comes down, he snipes it. You see him, and then the squid monster starts to detonate. Buck, of course, runs for cover, and then we see the helmet pop off the squid monster and land in the room that the rookie finds him. That's very well highlighted in this cutscene. And then Romeo comes down. Buck kind of is like, what was that squid monster? Where's Dare? What's the mission? And Romeo's like, I don't know. And then they're like, okay, I guess we have to find our other ODSTs. Yep. And then they kind of walk off into the sunset, holding hands.
Skipping.
Skipping, yeah.
Let's talk about the squid monster. What is this thing?
So we actually we've seen them in Halo Reach?
A little bit in Reach, yep.
Yeah, we fought against them in Halo Reach.
Okay. So these are called engineers. They are pretty much what their namesake is. Their actual alien name is Huragok. They are basically enslaved by the Covenant to fix things and to maintain things and create new technology for them.
They're manufactured species, right? By the Forerunners?
Yes. So the Forerunners created this species as kind of like these supercomputer alien hybrids. They are kind of, they're not fully computer, but they're not fully, they're not fully like aliens as well.
And do they live
organic.
that long? Because the Forerunners are a long time ago. Like, did these guys live that long? But they make new ones.
The Huragok can make new ones, and I don't think there's an instance of a Huragok dying of natural causes.
So these potentially could be from a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So these could be Huragok that were just made. These are probably not original Huragok. They were probably made closer to the Covenant era. But there are ancient Huragok that actually come from the Forerunner era in some of the novels and stuff like that. But, so this species has persisted for a very, very long time. They are extremely valuable just because their only goal in life and their only really motivation is to just make things and fix things. They are fascinated with technology, they're fascinated with new technology, they're fascinated with creating new technology, they're fascinated with old technology, they're fascinated with, upgrading current technology. Yep. So there are these crazy good assets, and the Covenant basically use them as slaves. They, of course, the Huragok don't like being treated badly. The Covenant kind of treat them pretty badly, especially the brutes. They, which is one of the reasons why the Huragok exploded, because the Covenant have these fail-safes on the Huragok because they are such precious cargo that if they are killed or captured, they can be remotely detonated.
Yeah, that's messed up.
So. They're very much asset denial with these Huragok.
I very much didn't realize that the first time I played this game. I thought they just blew up because we were killing them, and that's what they did. They blew up, as opposed to they actually got explosives on them to prevent their capture.
Yeah.
I think it's talked about during a cutscene later in the game.
I think so too. Yeah, I think Dare mentions it when we meet a certain character later on. That the reason why that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So these are aliens that, of course, aren't seen very much by humans because the Covenant kind of covet them and hide them. But for the specific mission that the Covenant is here for, they need them. So this is the first time humanity's really come in contact with these beings. So. And
we've talked about it before, but Bungie comes up with some cool aliens. Halo's got some cool aliens in it.
It's got, the Huragok are some of the most fascinating characters, especially in the novels where you don't see anything from their perspective, but you see a lot of different characters interacting with them. And they do have different personalities, and they do have, interactions and stuff like that.
Cool names.
So they're very, lighter than some.
Yeah. Prone to drift.
Yeah, so there are some really cool ones. So a lot of the books have them. So if you read a book and you come across a Huragok, always be excited. They're always very interesting.
They're very important. Very important. All right, so the end cutscene, it kind of just tosses it back now to Mombasa streets, and Rookie kind of staring blankly at Dare's helmet. And then it's time to go find some more clues, find some more beacons, and that's what we'll be talking about.
Something I really like about the end of this cutscene is that it's like, well, where do I go next? Then he looks up and these 3 signs light up and have arrows pointing.
Yeah, right. Oh, I didn't notice
Like-
that. I didn't pick up on that right away. Nice.
That's one of the this is like the first time I've ever noticed
Okay.
it. I was just looking for it. So yeah, at the very end of that cutscene, he kind of looks out the window and there some signs light up and say keep
Yeah.
left or detour and stuff like that. So
Very cool.
something is guiding him.
Very cool. All right, so let's do our community questions. Unless you guys have anything else you want to touch on, David, I'm
Do you have some trivia?
gonna
David?
ask David to read the community questions this time.
God damn it, I'm not ready for crazy ass community session.
I have the community questions
Oh,
up
okay,
if you want to
alright.
go
Krista,
through the
you do it.
trivia.
Krista, you go through it. I'll go through them. So there's nothing too crazy here. Like I already said, the sky is filled with crazy particles. The first time your character actually talks in game is in this game. It's a book. One of those Marines I think is credited as being Chip's Dubbo, but actually in this timeline he's supposed to be on Installation 05 with Master Chief. So there's an Australian Marine in this level should just be regarded as a generic Marine.
Maybe it was
Nope.
Dustin Echoes.
Could have been.
Maybe. The family feud noted by Buck and the Dead Elites encountered are due to the fact that just after the Prophet of Regret jumped away, reinforcements sent by the Prophet of Truth arrived and assumed control over the battle. I wasn't really aware of this till I looked this up. And the Brutes not only overtook the elites previously in command, but also executed any elites stationed on or above the planet. This was part of Truth's complex socio-political scheme for the Covenant that would culminate with the beginning of the Great Schism 2 weeks later. Very
Wow.
important to know. Yeah,
So this is
pretty
like
cool.
him. This is like it's the beginning of the schism, but he kind of does it in phases. He's like, the first phase we're gonna get rid of the Covenant occupying Earth because they're so far removed from the rest of the Covenant, kind of thing.
Yeah, because that was Regret's kind of offshoot, right? Like he jumped the gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's important things happening on and around Earth, so Truth very much wants to be in control of them. So he's replacing the elites that he no longer trusts.
Yep.
Because, they're clever and Brutes are not. Anyway, near the second group of Dead Elites, there are 2 deactivated energy swords, the only swords in the entire game. There is also an Ultra among this group under the overpass. It's the only one of 3 elites holding the rank of Ultra in the whole game.
Wow.
It's really there. Other than that, there's not much really of note in this mission.
Besides it being fun to shoot aliens.
Yeah, this is
Hell
kind of just a
yeah.
really good, like, hey, we're back in Halo, shoot some stuff mission. So, I got a community question. It's by Colin Perkins.
That's me.
The Question Master. I kind of know him sometimes. What do you think of the relationship between Buck and Dare that is intertwined with the story of Halo 3, ODST?
Colon, not Colin.
Colin. So Tyler says it makes Oni and the ODSTs feel more human. Nick says it brings a nice touch of humanity that's rarely seen in the Halo universe outside of the EU. It is the deeper exploration that Matt Forbrack brought with New Blood and Bad Blood, and would love to see more of Dare's side of the relationship, because New
sure.
Blood, Bad Blood are mostly Buck from the perspective of Buck, so he wants to see a little more Dare. And then Timothy says, "What do you think about Dare banging Spartan Buck?" Colin says,
nope.
"I'd watch."
Nope.
So that's all.
Jesus
that's all we
Christ.
have really with
That
that.
was a
Hey,
joke.
I didn't write it. I just read it. I don't.
joke.
Look, I don't. I just report the news.
God damn it.
I don't doctor the news. And I couldn't find it on Discord. Was it on Discord?
Yeah, I did post it on Discord. It was, a couple days ago. So there hasn't been a whole lot of chat in that channel.
Okay, so if you want to see more of Darren Buck, send us a message. We'll read it out later.
Right, we will. Cool. Well, it feels good to be back in daytime. I'm feeling good about this. Feeling good about all these weapons. Yeah, let's go find our next beacon. Let's do it.
Bacon.
Beacon
Yeah.
bacon.
The delicious bacon.
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 All right.
Look, the rookie's hungry. He's been asleep for 6 hours.
That's right. Tummy is grumbling. All right, that'll do it for our debriefing of Tayari Plaza from Halo 3 ODST. On the next episode, we'll be covering Uplift Reserve. Send us your thoughts at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. Until next time, evolved.
Evolved.